where AMD is heading. What's the future? What's the vision to all of us?
AMD's focus is on allowing computing to make a difference in people's lives. And what we focus on is high performance computing. AMD powers the #1 and the #2 supercomputer in the world.
What you're intending to talk to us in April in Long Beach, California.
The impact of technology on delivering AI capabilities, what AI can do, and how we can come together as an industry to supply what you'll hear me call the insatiable computing demand. We'll always and should always have skepticism of new technologies because it has to prove itself. And we are on the early arc, the early apex of this massive explosion of AI-driven new processes, new applications. So there should be skepticism.
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I'm Shashi Tripathi. I'm here with Mark Papermaster, the EVP and the CTO of the great company AMD. We are here to talk about Road to IIT 2026 conference, but I want to have this conversation, Mark, way beyond that. You have so much vision, so much insight, not just the people attending the conference. I think everyone who is going to listen this will benefit what we are going to talk today, Mark. Shashi Tripathi, I'm a venture capital. I'm also the chair of the Global Indian Institute of Technology 2026 conference. And it's my absolute pleasure, Mark, to have you here. Before we start, Mark, you're quite famous, but would love to learn a little bit more about you, who Mark is, share a little bit more about AMD and what kind of vision you're setting, which audience can benefit to learn from, Mark. So
Great.
Thank you, Mark.
Shashi, first of all, thanks for inviting me to speak and keynote at IIT 2026. I'm super excited about it and can't wait. And love that we have a chance to talk here in advance. Let me start just by describing a little of my history in the industry. I have been extremely fortunate because I started in technology right at an inflection point. And that inflection point was the introduction of the PC. So think about it. Computers and computing was some distant force that was always behind a glass wall in some computer center. Not that we don't still have major data centers that are behind the wall, but computing wasn't personal to the rest of us. None of us could really touch and feel how computing could affect our lives. And the PC changed that. It brought computing into our lives. And so we now, of course, don't even think about content creation, creating presentations at work, managing your photo albums at home, driving productivity programs that you might write. All of that, we now are accustomed to having that be very, very personal. And of course, then it led to the internet coming out and connecting all of us with those computation devices. Mobile, what a fantastic transition that was, where then it wasn't even with us personally. That personal computing could be in your pocket. And by the way, it had a photo and a video camera all embedded in it. So that changed the nature of how we deal with computing. And then it brings us up to the current era, Shashi, AI, the most transformative technology in the 4+ decades I've had in the industry. So I've been fortunate to traverse these inflection points coming up to this most exciting time. And I've been fortunate to work to great companies. I was with IBM, storied in computer development for 25 years. I was able to drive the development of IBM's technology. I had great opportunities at Apple, working for Steve Jobs, driving the iPhone and the iPod development there, networking with Cisco, and then the last 14 years in the role with CTO and in driving our research and development activities at AMD. Been incredibly exciting, and never have I been more optimistic about the future role that technology can play in our lives.
Mark, I mean, I'm so happy that you're coming to speak and share your insight because, as you pointed out, I mean, um, you have been part of those inflections. Who else can derive all the learnings from all those inflection points? And then, as you pointed out, AI is going to change pretty much everyone's life. If you're not part of the journey, better get on the journey because it will impact one way or other, whether you want it or not. But even before we head there, Mark, share a little bit about you, which most of the professionals may not know about. Tell married kids, what do you like to do? What makes you happy beyond work?
Well, I tell you, I engross so much of my work time is consuming. So in the industry I'm in of creating leading edge chips, when you're working, which is a lot, it's very consuming. It just takes all of your energies. So I like nothing more and maximizing my weekend time. Of course, I have some meetings or some work I get done on various weekends. But what I've tried to do the bulk of my career is prioritize the family time. It's the Zen moment in my life to spend time with my wife. We have three kids. They're now grown, and they're all married. They're grown, moved out of the house. We have three grandchildren. So I feel very, very fortunate. So my simple answer is family is what makes my life complete. And we just like doing things together, playing sports, just watching movies together, being out in the water. We're very much a family that loves water. So, yeah, I really find that in today's world, it's so fast paced. All of us need to focus on, of course, our passion for our careers, but equally, what makes you happy and at peace. And it's tough to find the balance, and I've been fortunate to do so over my years.
Mark, I mean, that's a very important point. I think pretty much most of the business professionals are struggling with that thinking. That at one stage, the technology is moving with so much space. I mean, it's how much do we do in, and we have limited time. And then on top, we have family, and which, by the way, makes us happy. Both of the word makes us happy. So I'm so happy to hear that someone like you with that stature still has time to balance it out and give time to family and kids. So it's so good to hear, Mark. I also have been reading a lot lately about AMD, especially after you coming to speak, but more I'm reading about AMD. And I saw the CNBC news anchor. He came and he filmed the whole center and all the investment you're making in AI. You being the CTO and EVP at AMD, share with us where AMD is heading. What's the future? What's the vision to all of us, Mark?
AMD's focus is on allowing computing to make a difference in people's lives. And what we focus on is high performance computing, computing that can help solve some of the world's toughest problems. That starts with supercomputers. AMD powers the number one and the number two supercomputer in the world. But it moves right into the data center where you might be running CPU workloads on the cloud, now GPU workloads. We've got a very, very competitive GPU for running the most demanding AI workloads, right down into what's called the edge, the applications that are more finely tuned. They might be industrial robotics, what's running your airplane, your autonomous vehicle that you're driving, embedded devices. We have a deep portfolio there, as well as PCs and gaming, where again, in all of those markets, our ability to bring transformative, high performance technology that's energy efficient and how it runs, and now all of it AI accelerated, is how we strive to make a difference in people's lives. Making basically the democratization of the ability to get at high performance computing.
Amazing, Mark. One thing also I saw in your profile, Mark, that you are the executive responsible or sponsor for the India operation. Um, and when we spoke first time, Mark, we briefly talked about IIT, Indian Institute of
Yes.
Technology. And while IIT has created some wonderful talent, some in US may not know, but when I talked to my surprise, in a pleasant way, you knew about IIT, you knew about Indian contribution in the economy. Um, Tell us more about your role on IIT, kind of looking into Indian operation and how you knew about IIT, but also uh, what made you to think about even coming to speak at a global Indian Institute of Technology? There must have something gone in your
Yeah.
brain to accept our proposal.
Shashi, we are a global company, and India makes up a very central part of what we do at AMD. And it didn't always used to be that way. When I joined 14 years ago, when Lisa Su joined the company, India was a very small part of the overall operations. But I realized right away that it was such a growing economy and that the talent in India was so strong that we need to strengthen its role in the company. And the time that I have been here, we've grown our India population of engineering from under 1,000 to over 10,000. It's grown 10x. And it really
Wow.
spans, everything that we do in the company. Again, it's an integral part of our development operations and our business operations. And IIT, to be honest, we're now a top company. We're a growing company. We're always in list of top performing companies. But when you go back 14 years ago, we had to transform ourselves to become that company. And in India, I will say it was very hungry. The engineers were very hungry to help fuel that growth. And at that time, I would say we were unknown at IITs in India. But as we started to grow, the interest rose. I was invited to speak at IIT in Mumbai, and I remember the auditorium just being filled. And I was asked with the most amazing questions. I said, how do these students, how could they be so steeped in the technology that we work on for chip development, for high performance computing and AI? But they were, I mean, just amazing. And what we've done the last years since then, so that was probably 5, 6 years ago, we've really increased our relationship with IITs across India. We partner with them. We do code research. We have AI development access to them, so they can get on our computing capabilities and develop new approaches. And we hire from IITs. So it's really been an expanded relationship and one that we're very happy about. But I do sponsor India, and I have since I joined the company for all the reasons I just said. It was very clear to me 14 years ago that they would need to be a very, very important part of the global company, which we are.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Um, and I know you are coming in April in Long Beach to talk about your vision about AI and industry and where we are heading and the amount of change AI is going to bring. Do you want to share with us a little bit, not the whole thing, but the glimpse of what you're intending to talk to us in April in Long Beach, California?
Yeah, my keynote at April at the IIT symposia. What I'm wanting to share is really the impact of technology on delivering AI capabilities, what AI can do, and how we can come together as an industry to supply what you'll hear me call the insatiable computing demand of AI. So we all know it's a transformative force, but how do we do it in such a way that we can actually support those needs, have a sustainable, have a managed process of how we grow at this exponential pace in a rational way going forward. And really, I'd like to share what I will tell you is I am an optimist, and when I look at these capabilities, you can always say, oh, how could technology be used in ways that could be a negative impact? But the way I look at it, the ways in which it can positively impact our lives, drive new discoveries, new forms of medicine, new drugs that we can apply. They're incredibly uplifting, and I want to share that feeling. And of course, acknowledge that we have to manage new technologies to make sure that they're used in the right way. That's what I'd like to discuss with your audience when I get that opportunity in April.
Perfect, very cool. Um, and Mark, I mean, you are seeing it firsthand that how it's changing our daily lives. Do you have anything to say to those who are somewhat naysayers, still think it's not a great technology? Still, I hear it in the news that enterprise still cannot take value of AI. Any thoughts about such comments
Sure.
coming in the industry and the news today?
Well, we will always and should always have skepticism of new technologies because it has to prove itself. And we are on the early arc, the early apex of this massive explosion of AI-driven new processes, new applications. So there should be skepticism. Uh, that's okay. What I'd urge people to do is don't take skepticism as somehow a justification to ignore the new technology trend because it's inexorable force that is coming. It's like if you said, "Oh, years ago, I don't even want to use computers. I don't want to use electricity." I mean, you can go back to any of these major forces, and it doesn't do any good to allow skepticism that might be healthy to become unhealthy and not adopted. I would urge everyone to try out, use some of these generative AI applications like ChatGPT, like Gemini and Grok and the rest. Try them out. See how they help you be more productive. And if you just try it in your personal life, and if you're like me, you'll see it have an immediate impact on your productivity. Multiply that by 100, multiply that by 1,000, then you understand the promise of AI to make us incredibly more productive and spend our time where we want to, not on tasks that were just frankly time consuming and didn't tap our full creative capabilities.
So, if I'm a business lead, business senior executive, Mark, of a company, uh, and I'm hearing all this from people like you, that AI is wonderful, um, and yet I hear this news they are not successful. What word of advice you will have someone like me as a business executive in a big companies to go about into either implementing or strategy? Any advice you may have for business executive in the companies?
Over time, Shashi, enterprises, it will be easier and easier for them to adopt AI because it'll be built in everything you do. Whatever application you already had, you can build it in. But you'll always, most businesses, most enterprise will need to tap their own data. That's how it makes it most powerful. Because whatever your business is, you have the data that if you train and create AI finely tuned models, and they don't have to be these big, large language models you hear about that the big generative AIs run on. It can be a much smaller model tuned just to what your enterprise is doing. And that's when you're going to get the real benefit. And what I think is most people that are getting initial challenges in adopting AI, what I'd urge them to do is pull in an expert that can show you that they've done it. Find a use case that's similar to yours where they have the experience, they've done it, and can show you the cutting edge tools and the best way to do it. And above all, make sure that internal to your enterprise, you have someone that's knowledgeable about AI. They're thinking about the data you have that you can put to work for you. So the short answer to your question is you really need to think about it like any new endeavor. It has to be well thought out. And if you have a well thought out plan and you really focus on being pragmatic how you execute it, I think you'll find your success ratio to dramatically go up. And Shashi, I think the question I'd ask back to you as an investor, what are you seeing in the industry, and what is the current trends that are most prevalent?
Yeah, no, I'm glad, Mark. I didn't expect that you're going to be putting me on the spot, but I will. As you pointed out, the vertical AI is, I've been doing a lot of investment in that area. Uh, take these language models, and you pointed out, takes the data from the industry and solve a particular use case, is phenomenal. I mean, what used to take 2 months to develop something now can be way faster. All this data analysis you talked about and applying into various aspects of science, which could not have been possible before. Now, with the invent of AI, very easily the power of compute we have and the AI algorithm we have can be very easily the new drug discovery, the new way to even come up with new types of material. So lots of new areas where we can apply these AI models to make improvement into future, which are going to ultimately impact all our lives. So I do a lot of vertical AI investment, Mark, and exactly what you just talked about, use case focus with the data, combining the LLM all together to make something new.
Great.
Yep. Um, so as industry is evolving, Mark, into the future, especially the AI industry, um, what challenges do you see as an industry?
Shashi, when you say what challenges do we see in the industry, what I have to say is we've really covered it in this discussion. I mean, it's about each business really thinking about how are they transforming? How are they transforming their, not just how they use AI, but how their very processes for whatever they do can be reinvented with AI. Because if they don't look at it that way, for the business challenge you face, is that you could be disrupted by a company that is native AI. They come at the same business you're at, but they think about it, how AI can help in every aspect, and they could pass by you. So that's probably challenge number one that I'd highlight. Secondly, it's of course making sure that you're pragmatic because it's expensive to deploy AI. So you have to make sure you're getting the return on investment. And then thirdly, you need to make sure that you have the right guardrails because you need to assure that you have ethical use of AI and frankly, that you have the right accuracy. You know, if you create an AI that is subject to a higher hallucination, as it's called in the industry, then what is your tolerance level? You don't have checks and balances for that. That's another challenge. So, you know, again, overall, I just say uh, people need to be cognizant of the challenges and take them head on.
Some questions related to AI. What is your best AI app you would recommend, Mark, which you
Well,
might be using
as a
every day?
technology company, Shashi, as you might imagine, we are actually the GPU and CPU under most all of them in some shape, way, and form. And so I can't play favorites. I use them all.
I'm sure you use many. So, no, Mark, thank you so much once again for accepting to come and speak. We are super thrilled that you're coming in Long Beach in April to speak to us. Any final thoughts, advice you may have for our audience or anyone who is into the tech and business industry?
What an incredibly exciting time we have in technology. It's going to create a lot of change in our society. And so we all have to be ready to be adaptable. And I can't wait to join you, Shashi, at IIT World Conference in 2026 in Long Beach. So until then, uh, we'll pick up the conversation at that time.
Definitely, Mark. And those who are listening, you can learn more about this conference at IIT2026.org. And Mark is there. And Mark, once again, thank you. We are super, super thrilled that you're going to speak to us in that conference. Thank you, Mark.